Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, show number 88 for the 25th of June 2010. Richard Saunders here with you from my little studio in Sydney, Australia. On this week's show, we chat to Tim Bailey from the Colorado Humanists, who was visiting Sydney just recently. And after that, we have a clip from Dr. Rachie and I appearing on Radio 2GB here in Sydney, where we get a call from somebody called Jack, who tells us all about magnetic therapy and reflexology. After that, it's Dr. Rachie Reports, where she fills us in on the latest information from the UK about the early day motions and homeopathy. Thank you for those people who have recently sent us donations to help us keep the show ticking over. We do appreciate it. We really do. And thank you to those people writing to me saying that they will be at the amazing meeting in Las Vegas and we'll catch up. Looking forward to that enormously. But for now, sit back, have a nice cup of coffee, and enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Tim Bailey is a corporate trainer, educator, an amateur skeptic, an amateur atheist, and all-over amateur human being. When he is not travelling around the world to conduct training classes for his clients or meeting fine skeptics and atheists, he can be found in Denver, Colorado, performing secular ceremonies as celebrating times of change and acting like he is the vice president of the Humanists of Colorado. He can be found online at various sites under the call letters TCSGRV. Well, what can I say, listeners? I'm here right on Sydney Harbour. On my left-hand side is the beautiful Opera House, all lit up. On my right-hand side over my shoulder, it's the Sydney Harbour Bridge lit up, and the city's sort of directly in front of me. This is a place I've brought my guest this evening, Tim Bailey. Hello, Tim.
Hello, how are you?
Tonight I'm doing particularly well. We just had a lovely beer in a Belgian beer house, and I thought I'd bring you down to one of the most gorgeous spots here on Sydney Harbour to have a chat with you.
I'm quite impressed with it. The sights are very good, and I can see some architecture that I haven't anticipated, plus the Opera House is over to my left, and that's quite a sight to see. So I'm looking forward to exploring that a little bit more tomorrow.
And I think we'll probably get a ferry or two and some water lapping and lovely sound effects coming along as we have our chat. Now, you're in Sydney, of course, at the moment on business, aren't you?
My career is within adult education in the sense that my predominant line of work is that I will get up in front of classes and train them in database software solutions. But also, too, I decided to take a little bit of a side trip in my festivities or activities, and I also perform secular weddings within...
Secular weddings in Colorado?
Secular weddings in Colorado.
How does that work exactly? How does that work legally?
In Colorado, the laws are not strict in the sense that you have to be a clergyman in order to perform a wedding. You can be somebody who actually is either a justice of the peace or a third party who can actually perform a wedding for anybody within the Colorado area.
Did you have to go through a process to register for this?
Yes, I did. I am a certified celebrant with the Celebrant Society, part of the American Humanist Association.
Wow.
Within the United States of America.
And are you finding that's a popular thing for people to do?
At first, I anticipated that it would just be a side venture. Just maybe one or two weddings a year. But my wife and I had found that we've had several people that were interested in our services, not just for weddings, but for secular celebrations to mark, say, baby naming ceremonies, coming of age ceremonies, passings. They wanted to have ceremonies in which did not have any religious influence whatsoever. They either were from a family that religion was never a big part of their lives, or the individuals who are getting married are from different religious traditions.
I see.
And so they did not want to have religion being a factor in their weddings that was going to cause either conflict or to be an area in which would detract from the fact that they're celebrating getting together and having a wedding.
Right.
And so, my wife and I put together a company called Celebrating Times of Change.
Right. Which I imagine is on the internet, right?
Yes, it is. We have a website at celebratingtimes.com.
Right.
Within Colorado, we've had some individuals who already have signed up and had decided to have their weddings with us. And our goal is to basically provide for them the most memorable and beautiful wedding ceremony. One that, in fact, I sit down with the clients and say, what would you like for your ceremony? And say, I get to know them a little bit more, and then we draft up and write a ceremony just for them.
Wow.
But that's one of the things that we decided to do. We say, well, it doesn't have to be religious.
Yes.
It could be just meaningful, something that's specific to them, and then after that, making it uniquely theirs, writing something unique, and then afterwards, we perform it.
That's fantastic. Now, what can you tell me about the history, as far as you know it, of the humanist movement in Colorado?
The Humanists of Colorado has been around since the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
When I first moved to Colorado in 2003, one of the goals that I had was to get involved with the secular organizations and the skeptical organizations within the Colorado area. One of the first ones I came across was the Humanists of Colorado. I attended a few of their meetings, which was at a local Unitarian Universalist church.
Okay, yes.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, I met several of the individuals who were leading the organization, as well as some of the other members. And after about 6 months to a year, I found myself on the board. And then quickly after that, I found myself president of the board.
Oh, wow.
And I'd been president of the board until last year, June of last year, when I had passed the baton over to a gentleman by the name of Richard Berg, who is not a president, and I'm currently the vice president of the board of the Humanists of Colorado.
Now, you're a globetrotter, of course, as you were mentioning before. You're when we were having a chat over a beer, your work takes you around the world, to Europe especially, and to New Zealand. And I'm so glad that you dropped me a line to say, what could we do? Could we meet up? And you're coming to Skeptics in the Pub next week.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that. And one of the things in which I attempt to do when I go on trips is I look online to see what organizations are within the areas in which I go to. For instance, when I went to South Carolina, I said, well, I'm going to look up what's there. And I found Secular Humanists of the Low Country and had a great time with the folks there.
Yeah.
And when I was coming here, I said, well, what's going on? So I found that, Skeptics at the Pub was going to be on the last Thursday right before I was to leave.
Which is the Thursday coming up, in fact. That'll be the 1st of July.
1st of July.
Here in Sydney. So listeners in Sydney, come along and you can meet Tim in person.
I would love to meet you. And then I fly back home on the 2nd of July.
Oh, wow.
So first thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning?
Yes. However, I am completely able to stay awake for the entire evening because I'm going to be sleeping on that plane on the way back home to Colorado.
That might not be a bad idea. So I'm really pleased to hear that you make the effort to see what's going on in the local area. Have you had any other good experiences with that, meeting local skeptics and other like-minded people?
Oh, I've had plenty of splendid experiences. I've even spent some time with the Minnesota Atheists.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the folks up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota area. August, Berkshire, some of the meetups that they've had up there. I've gotten together at an Ethiopian restaurant.
Good heavens.
With them. And had some great conversations with some folks that I even converse with afterwards online for
Good.
several months afterwards.
Right. Now you go to the UK, I hear. Oh, have you been there yet?
Yes,
I
spent 2 weeks in the Bristol area.
Bristol, okay.
I've also had a chance to get down to Portishead. I also took a tour that took me to Stonehenge, Avebury, a couple of the little villages. And of course, since I'm on Facebook, as well as many of my nieces and nephews, the first things that they wanted to see is, I want pictures of Stonehenge with you at Stonehenge. So I said, okay, I'll do that. And since they also were quite a bit of fans of Harry Potter among some of my nieces and nephews, I made sure that I got my pictures taken at some of the locales that they had some of the scenes from the movies.
Oh, really? Well, I must admit, I've been guilty of doing sort of similar things myself. The first time I went to London, I went to Abbey Road. So
Next time I go to London, I'll have to do the same.
Yeah. At the time, for me, it was a must. It was a must thing to do. But no, the UK is just crawling with skeptics these days. They're doing a wonderful job. There's podcasts right, left, and centre, and there are meetup groups and skeptics in the pub, all over the country. In fact, all over the British Isles.
Yes, and when I was in Bristol, I didn't get much of a chance to do much exploring because I was working quite a bit during those 2 weeks. However, I did take that one tour that got me out of the city. I am going to be going back to Bristol sometime within the next year. I'm just not entirely sure when.
Right.
But I hope to spend more time in London when I'm able to go.
Do you think you'll be visiting Australia, Sydney, more frequently?
Oh, I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
In fact, if the pattern continues with previous experience, I'll most likely will be here within the next year.
That would be fantastic. But I understand you can't quite manage to come to the amazing meeting in Australia this year.
No, in fact, I was attempting to line up the events so that my trip here was going to line up, and I was really giving hints and saying, this would be the best time for me to get over there. Yeah. However, they wanted the training session much earlier than that, so that I'm here now. And unless I'm lucky, I'm probably not going to be able to return during that.
Well, I mean, it is not too bad. I mean, it is wintertime here, and normally where we're sitting at the moment, it would be a bit too cold, but it's just, we're very lucky. Tonight is just beautiful.
The moon is out. The stars are out.
Oh, there it is. It was behind clouds, but now it's come out.
I can see the southern hemisphere stars that I don't usually get to see during the.
Well, you know what? Directly above us right now, those stars you can see.
Yes,
that's the Southern Cross.
Yep.
That's the Southern Cross. It's the clouds. The clouds have parted just for us. You can see the cross shape. Those 4 stars, and to their left are the 2 what we call the pointers.
Yeah.
And there it is. That's the Southern Cross.
These are stars I can't see from Denver. However,
that's right.
When I'm up in the mountains in Denver, I'd love to gaze at the stars. And one of my early childhood experiences was with a telescope and getting involved in astronomy. In fact, it was astronomy that got me involved in my interest in science.
We were just having a quick chat about that earlier, because I took you to what we call our customs house here, where there's a giant 3-dimensional model of downtown Sydney, which is most impressive. And I was pointing out the observatory to you. And if you look over your shoulder, your right shoulder, behind that building and behind the lead up to the Harbour Bridge is the observatory. So it's not very far from where we're sitting at the moment.
Okay.
You'll have to go.
I'm definitely going to have to go see that, because I've also been to the Kitt Peak Observatory in southern Arizona one time, just to visit that and see how that was. But it was astronomy that really piqued my interest in science. When I was young.
That's partly true of myself, and I'm sure many of our listeners. For me, it was things like Carl Sagan, which completely got me hooked when I was about 15, because he was talking about astronomy and the stars and the planets, and I found that endlessly I still do endlessly fascinating.
Yeah, one of my first Carl Sagan books that was given to me was Broca's Brain. And then one of the last ones that I obtained was, of course, The Demon Haunted World.
Oh, that's a great book. That is a great book. That's a must-read for any skeptic, that one.
And it is the baloney detection kit I've used many times, over and over.
Well, of course, our good friend Phil Plait, the bad astronomer, he's from Colorado.
Yes, he is.
And we were discussing before that there seems to be a very strong skeptical and secular group and movement in Colorado itself.
There is. There is the Mile High Skeptics, which is a meetup organization, and there's several different individuals involved with that. And they're quite well known, at least amongst the secular community within Colorado. There's also the Rocky Mountain Paranormal Research Society.
I've heard a lot about those guys.
Baxter and Bonner.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, the program that we had at the Humanists of Colorado about a year and a half ago, where we had them come and speak and do a multimedia presentation, was one of the best and well-received and best performed programs we ever had at the Humanists. So,
wow, I'd love to see that.
Yes, our members were absolutely and not only entertained, but educated by that presentation as well.
Yeah.
So, that's one of my favorites.
It's such a great name for an organization too, isn't it?
Yes, because you would actually think that, okay, they explore paranormal, right? They're going to tell you about the ghosts and about the UFOs.
Yes. There's a little... Well, that's interesting. There's a plane going overhead, but I've just noticed in the clouds there are spotlights. Can you see it there?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
The spotlights from below.
I wonder where they're coming from.
Actually, the spotlights could be coming from Darling Harbor, because every evening during the last week that I was here, they had a large screen in which they had the live World Cup soccer matches.
Oh, quite possibly, yes. Yeah, that'll be on tonight, of course.
Yes. And even though Australia is no longer in the running, unfortunately, however...
And New Zealand, too, they're out.
And New Zealand is out, yes. And Italy is out.
Italy, that's a surprise.
That was very much a surprise.
That? Nobody.
But I was also lucky enough to be with some friends back at the University of Colorado back in 1990. Some of them from Greece, some of them from Italy, who got me so hooked on
Really?
World Cup soccer that I've had to watch it every 4 years since then.
That's the only time I really take an interest in the sport, I must say. Now, just behind me now, we've got... This is one of the little...
fast ferries?
Yeah, or it is, in fact. It's I'm not sure where that one goes, but behind it, and about to pass in front of the Opera House, is one of the major commuter ferries off to Manly. And that's a half-hour trip, which is a cheap way to see the wonders of Sydney Harbour.
Okay.
There it is now.
Yep.
Looks so nice at night time, too.
It does look nice. Looks like it would be actually a fun trip to take.
Yeah, I can recommend that. Like I say, it's a cheap way to see a great deal of the harbour, and you end up at Manly Beach, which is it's a great place to visit too. And there goes another smaller one. I'm not sure where that one's off to.
I've actually promised all the nieces and nephews and the family members and other friends that I'm going to provide for them many pictures for this particular trip. When I was in England, I joked that I had taken over 500 photos. And I thought I was lying until I found out that I took 526. So I am behind on this trip. I actually have to catch up and get at least 500 photos while
Now, that one you can hear now. Just going past us now. That's a water taxi, I guess.
Oh, okay.
That's amazing. It just looks like a rowing boat with a covering.
Little camper on it.
Yes. What I'm trying to do, of course, is sell the wonders of Sydney Harbour to our visitors who will be here in November for the amazing meeting.
Yes. And for those of you who are going to be at the amazing meeting in November, I am quite envious of you because, as always, I tend to be at the right place at the wrong time.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you're at the right place at the right time.
Actually, I am.
And it's been such a pleasure to chat with you.
And Richard, it's been a pleasure to chat with you as well, and I feel honored to actually be able to meet with you.
Thank you.
That's
very
and
kind
to
of
get to
you
know
say
you
so.
personally.
And all the best for the rest of your trip. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just reach into my backpack here and I'll present you with the latest issue of our magazine, if I can.
Oh, excellent.
It's stuck. There it is. That's the latest issue of our magazine, The Skeptic, from
Skeptic.
Australian Skeptics. So
thank you very much.
might be some interesting reading for you on the plane, or...
I'll definitely be reading with this on the plane. In fact, I am also a subscriber to the various skeptic magazines within the United States, both the Skeptic as well as the Skeptical Inquirer.
Right.
On the plane trip here, I happen to have read all the articles, and so this will definitely help for the trip on the way home.
That will tide you out. Well, Tim Bailey, a great pleasure.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Hello, I'm Tony Pittman, the presenter of the weekly radio show and podcast Reality Check, broadcast from here in Melbourne, Australia. And if you like listening to the Skeptic Zone, maybe you'd like to check out Reality Check. Each week we bring you a roundup of LGBT news, that's news related to lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender issues, plus a movie review, plus a serious skeptical analysis of a topic related to pseudoscience or the paranormal. So if that sounds like it could be right up your alley, visit our website at realitycheckonline.net. There you can listen online, download episodes or subscribe. That's realitycheckonline.net.
Okay, well, Jack's on the phone. Jack wants to sing the praises of magnetic products. Hello, Jack.
Hello.
G'day. Go for it, Jack.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for taking the call. Look, I've known about magnetic products for over 30 years, and I've done a lot of reading on it, and I can personally testify myself. I had a very bad knee, and I didn't know whether this magnetic strap was going to work, so it's not like I was sort of convincing myself mind over matter that would work. And I put it on my knee. I reckon it took about a week, and my pain completely went. I didn't take any other tablets, medication. I did a lot of reading on magnetic products, and from what I understand, the simple concept of it is your blood has negative and positive ions, IONS, and when you apply a magnet to that, it attracts those negatives and positive ions, and it increases your circulation.
You've been reading their website, haven't you, Jack? Because that's what they... I've looked at
everything, and basically, everyone knows that when you have an increased circulation, be it through exercise or whatever, when you increase your circulation, that's what does the fixing up.
Jack, what do you mean by increase your circulation?
Well, you just, like, when you exercise, your circulation, your blood circulation increases because your body's...
what moves faster?
You've lost me.
Your blood moves faster?
Your blood moves faster?
Your blood moves faster. It's like... your blood, your circulatory system is like... If you don't exercise, it becomes like stagnate water.
But, Jack, what's this got to do with pain relief? You've sort of gone off track a little bit here.
Well, with pain relief, if you increase the circulation in your body, right, pain relief, like just say, for instance, with joints and everything, is usually caused through inflammation.
That's right. But
right. If you get inflammation in a certain part of the body, the signs it gives you is pain.
Yes, but right? Jack, do you understand how the inflammation process works? You can't flush it away if you increase your blood flow.
No.
Because specific types of cells are actually recruited to the site of inflammation as long as that inflammation remains. And you can't kind of wash that out like you would wash dishes or something. It doesn't work like that.
Right, okay, but have you heard of reflexology?
Yes.
Right.
It doesn't work either.
It doesn't work either.
Now, hang on. I'm a qualified reflexologist, right?
Oh,
sorry,
okay. Jack, you're just the man we're looking for. You can apply for the Australian Skeptics $100,000 challenge if you can prove that reflexology works.
Well, I can prove it because my wife today, I married my wife through reflexology.
What?
Right?
How does that work?
Does
that well, that doesn't prove it works.
Did you read her feet or something, Jack? How did you do that?
Exactly what happened. About 12 years ago, we were all going to go out one night, and I was with there was four of us, and she was there with a girlfriend, and when we turned up to pick everyone up, she had shocking sinus, right? And one of the best results that I get with reflexology is with sinus problems, right? And she it was that bad she wasn't going to go out. And I said, look, listen, this might sound a bit weird, but I can do some points around your toes, right? Your sinus points around your toes, and I could just about guarantee you will definitely get relief.
Jack, why didn't you get her to go for a run and increase her circulation? That would have worked too, right? That's what you've just told us.
No, because with reflexology, it works on your nerve endings, right? And those nerve endings, over the years, they get deposits of crystallizations of toxins.
No, they don't.
They don't. That's absolutely wrong.
No. Okay.
Listen. Time out both sides. I'm going to step in here as the adjudicator and say, Jack...
I can prove it to you.
Okay, Jack, that's exactly what I want you to do, because these guys have a standing $100,000 bounty on anybody that can prove things that they reckon don't really work. Now, you're saying that you can prove reflexology actually works. The Australian skeptics have a $100,000 prize to anybody who can demonstrate paranormal or supernatural powers under mutually agreed test conditions, okay? Yep. Now, here's your opportunity, Jack. I want to see you take the money, Jack. I'm on your side.
Right.
I want to see you take the money. So I want you to go to their website, Skeptics, skeptics.com.au.
Right.
And check out their website. You'll find this $100,000 prize offer on there. Get in touch with the Skeptics. Tell Richard. Send him an email and tell him that you want to find out all about it because you want to be $100,000 richer. And Jack, I just say good luck to you, because if you believe in what you're talking about with reflexology and you reckon you can prove that it works,
the money is yours.
The money's yours.
Take it.
Yeah, for sure. No, guaranteed. You could get 10 people, 15 people that's got problems, say neck problem, knee problems, sinus.
Jack, go to the website and let us know how you go, all right?
Thank you.
Go on, your buddy.
Jack.
There we go. He could be $100,000 better off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There again, he may not be as well. 10 minutes to 11. Got to take a quick break.
Want to know how to live skeptically and still have friends? Well, so do I. Join me for Actually Speaking, a new podcast that explores the human side of skepticism. We'll set the science aside and discuss familiar skeptical topics from an interpersonal perspective. Along the way, we'll highlight specific social and communication skills needed to promote critical thinking. Scientific facts are only part of the equation. Let's take an extra step and learn how to share that knowledge effectively. Actually Speaking, a podcast that explores the human side of skepticism, critical thinking, and the skills we need to make it through the day. Visit actuallyspeaking.com to learn more.
Now it's time for Dr. Rachie Reports with Dr. Rachel Dunlop.
Hello listeners, and welcome to Dr. Rachie Reports. Well, this week I'm reporting on a win for science, skepticism and common sense in the House of Commons in the UK. Now, a few weeks back on the Think Tank, we were discussing the story of David Tredinnick, who is a UK MP who spent approximately £700 or £800 of taxpayers' money on astrology software. Now, it turns out that David Tredinnick believes in all kinds of woo, including herbal medicine products, complementary medicine, food supplements, dietary supplements, and now it seems homeopathy. In fact, he loves homeopathy so much that yesterday he submitted 3 early day motions, also called EDMs, to the House of Commons for consideration. Now, for those non-UK listeners, EDMs are basically motions that are tabled by members of Parliament for debate on an early day or an unspecific date in the future. So EDMs can cover all manner of subjects that the MP thinks Parliament should be made aware of and possibly debate. So sometimes they address serious matters such as climate change, or they can address trivial events such as the pigeon bombs EDM, which was tabled in the 2003-2004 session of UK Parliament. Now, this EDM was concerned with a disclosure by MI5 that it had proposed using pigeons as flying bombs during World War II. And according to Wikipedia, the motion condemned the proposal, describing humans as, quote, obscene, perverted, cruel, uncivilised and lethal, and proposed that the House, quote, looks forward to the day when the inevitable asteroid slams into the Earth and wipes them out, thus giving nature the opportunity to start again. Now, this is Wikipedia, but I really hope that that's accurate. So EDMs remain open for signatures for the duration of a parliamentary session, but are rarely ever signed by all MPs, and few make it to the floor for debate. So let's go back to David Tredinnick. Well, he apparently decided he had found some new information about homeopathy, which he wanted to share with the House. So he tabled 3 EDMs concerning homeopathy. The first one was EDM 285 and claimed that homeopathy was an effective treatment for breast cancer. EDM 286 concerned homeopathy as a treatment for depression, and EDM-287 concerned insomnia. Tridenic also objected to the British Medical Association's recent public statements where they called for no further commissioning of nor funding for homeopathic remedies on the National Health Service. This was famously reported as the British Medical Association calling homeopathy witchcraft. So in support of his evidence, Tridenic cited 3 published peer-reviewed studies as evidence for his claims. Now, one of these I've talked about on the show before, but I happen to know it very well since I spent the better part of a Saturday back in February debunking the entire paper. The reason I did this was because Richard Saunders had received an email alert from Homeopathy Plus with the headline screaming, "Homeopathy as good as chemotherapy for breast cancer and non-toxic," which is a pretty extraordinary claim for special magic water, and also likely to be complete bollocks. Well, I won't keep you in suspense. It is complete bollocks. So let me read to you the EDM submitted by David Tridenic in response to this paper. Quote, that this House welcomes the study published in the International Journal of Oncology 2010 February, which revealed that homeopathic remedies have a beneficial effect on breast cancer cells, notes that researchers at the University of Texas conducted an in vitro study to determine whether products prescribed by a clinic in India have any effect on breast cancer cell lines. Further, notes that the researchers studied 4 ultra-diluted remedies, believes that the findings demonstrate biological activity of these natural products when present at ultra-diluted doses, and calls for further research in this important area. Well, I guess Tridenic, like Homeopathy Plus, either didn't read the entire paper or didn't understand how to interpret the scientific literature, because this ain't what I gleaned from this paper. Once Dr. Evan Harris had my blog and others debunking this paper in his sticky fingers, Dr. Julian Hupert got straight onto composing a rebuttal, and it is a joy to read. But before I reveal it to you, let's hear a little of a debate between Dr. Simon Singh and David Tridenic on radio. This is from At Kushta on SoundCloud and has what he calls a BS buzzer added to emphasise when Tridenic says something wrong or stupid.
Homeopathic remedies do not work and should not be funded by the NHS. That was the conclusion of a parliamentary select committee recently, but it's being challenged in the House of Commons by the Conservative MP David Tridenic, who has called for a debate on the possible benefits of homeopathy. What has he discovered? Well, he's on the line, and with me is the author Simon Singh, who's been very critical of the whole homeopathic industry, if that's the right word. What's your evidence that it might work, David Tridenic?
Good morning, John. Well, I've highlighted 3 new studies, one from the University of Texas that shows that homeopathy is effective for cancer patients, another from Brazil, which shows that it helps with moderate to severe depression, and a third from Durban University of Technology that shows that it's effective in treating primary insomnia. These are double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, just the sort of thing that Simon Singh would call for.
Simon Singh, you've called for exactly that sort of testing.
Yes, I had a very, very quick look at some of these studies last night, and one of them, for example, has no statistics in the paper. There's nothing there to show that the result is serious.
Which one's that?
That was the first one, the one mentioned from Texas University. Secondly, the paper, the control, which is supposed to be ineffective, seems to have some effect. So the researchers seem to have a control which is not adequate.
So I don't know what you mean by that.
Oh, so an inert substance. So you're comparing with an inert substance, and if homeopathy does better than the inert substance, you might be tempted.
Or placebo, in other words.
Exactly. So I don't think these are very good studies. Even then, what you have to do is look at it in the round. There have been over 200 clinical trials, and overall the weight of evidence shows, after 200 years, after 200 clinical trials, that homeopathy is ineffective. I would change my mind in an instant if the evidence was there, but the evidence isn't there. And this becomes slightly dangerous when Mr. Tridenic raises these issues, because at the moment in Australia there's a coroner's inquest into a woman who had cancer and who went down a homeopathic route entirely, what was a completely treatable condition, and died. And I think when we start tempting people towards the idea that homeopathy can treat cancerous cells and so on, it's a very dangerous road to go down to. I think Mr. Tridenic really should be a bit more responsible when he puts down these EDMs.
So now let's see what became of EDM-285 once Harris and Hupert had gone to town on it. EDM 285A1 now reads like this. Line 2, leave out from 403 to end and insert. As an example of the failure of adequate scientific peer review because the paper provides no statistical analysis to support any conclusion, indicates that the experimental control, 87% alcohol solution, was itself toxic to the cell cultures, did not illustrate or explain the different chromatographic profiles of the solvent and the test substances, and does not provide sufficient data to allow proper evaluation of the study. Notes that the lead author has retired and runs a homeopathy website which falsely claims that homeopathy is as effective as a conventional chemotherapy agent in treating breast cancer. Further notes that one of the authors, Alison Paulus, has publicly disowned the paper, regrets that isolated poor quality studies are cited by proponents of homeopathy to endorse dangerous and exploitative cancer-curing claims in the face of overwhelming weight of scientific evidence against them, and agrees with the conclusions of the Science and Technology Select Committee's 4th report session, Evidence Check Homeopathy, that puts patients through pointless further clinical trials, and the spending of scarce public sector funds on homeopathy research cannot be justified. Wow. So the comment about Alison Paulus, listed as an author on the study, publicly disowning this paper, is derived from a comment she left on my blog where she stated that, quote, as an unintended co-author on this study, I feel obligated to respond. Alison went on to say, quote, I asked not to be included because I did not think it was a sound study, and I believe this study demonstrated changes in alcohol percentages on cells rather than the efficacy of homeopathic medicine. So the amendments to the EDMs constitute a marvellous result and a testament to the dedication of Dr. Evan Harris and Dr. Julian Hupert. The fact that this message got out so quickly is also a credit to the power of the blogosphere and the Twitterverse. And in fact, this was how I originally got my hands on the full text of this article, by tweeting for someone to source it for me. And thank you to @XTALDave, or Crystal Dave. But unfortunately, David Tredinnick is not the only one who has jumped to conclusions about the findings of this paper. I already mentioned Homeopathy Plus making a giant leap in logic from cells being treated in culture to homeopathy is better than chemotherapy for cancer. So many others have picked up this meme and run with it, despite the fact that not even the paper itself makes this claim. The only reference to a common cancer drug appears buried in the discussion and states, quote, interestingly, the cytotoxic effect of 2 of the remedies investigated in this study appeared similar to the activity of Taxol, the most commonly used chemotherapeutic drug for breast cancer, when it was tested in 2 carcinoma cell lines investigated in this study in parallel experiments. This is followed by, in brackets, data not shown. Hear that, listeners? Data not shown. So interestingly, homeopathy sympathisers can go from data not shown to homeopathy can cure cancer. But then I guess facts, evidence and science never really did interest them that much. For example, it seems that David Tredinnick has already forgotten about the findings of the House of Commons Science and Technology Committee in February this year, following the evidence check for homeopathy, where the recommendation was that the National Health Service should cease funding of homeopathy, there should be no further clinical trials of homeopathy, evidence shows homeopathy doesn't work, explanations for why homeopathy works are scientifically implausible, and the committee viewed homeopathy as placebo. And so I'll end today's report with a tweet by @PaulNUK2010, reflecting on today's events. He said, how to get your scientific papers peer-reviewed by experts in the field. Get David Tredinnick to cite them in an EDM. So very true. So if you wish to read the full blog post or the full text of the paper, please head to my blog at skepticsbook.com. And until next time, this has been Dr. Rachie Reports.
Thank you very much for listening to The Skeptic Zone. Now we have one more show to put out before we head off to Las Vegas. That's Iran Segev, Joanne Benamou, Dr. Rachie and myself heading off to Las Vegas. When we're in Las Vegas, don't worry, there will be a special Skeptic Zone going out regardless. And when we come back, we're going to have weeks of fantastic interviews of all the famous skeptics we can bump into. So for now, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.
The Skeptic Zone.